Hello everyone, this is Ijaz Khan, and today our topic of discussion is project management. Well, before we start today's topic, I would just like to start with a question. What are the differences between a project and an operation? Do you people see any difference between project and operation? And if yes, what are those differences? Okay, let's see what are the differences between project and an operation. Here we go. The very first difference, and rightly picked by all of you, is that project will always be for a defined time period. That means it will have a beginning and it will have an end. Not necessarily that beginning and end will have only 1 year's time span. It may be less than a year. It may be more than a year. It can be of 5 years. It can be of 10 years. But uh, it will always have an end. Whereas when you talk about operations, they are ongoing, and they do not have a specified time period, so they will be ongoing. The second difference is that for projects we have to allocate resources specifically, and on the other hand, the operations, they will be allocated resources, but they will be allocated on a full-time basis. The resource allocation will be an ongoing process. Uh, and when we say when you talk about resources, we mean the labor force, and we also mean the other resources like materials or everything else. So when we talk about projects, or if we need workforce to execute projects, we may get them from the existing functions or departments on a short-term or long-term basis, but they may be doing both the tasks at the same time, their functional tasks and their role in the project as well. So they may be on a shared basis, and usually they will be on a shared basis. Whereas when we talk about operations, the resources specific, especially the workforce, they are usually not on a shared basis. They will be dedicated to specific operations. Then the third difference will be the projects are usually one-off. For example, if you're doing a project A, it will be a one-off task, and it won't be a recurring. It won't be of a recurring nature. Whereas on the other side, operations, they will be uh, recurring. They'll be based on recurring tasks. The fourth difference will be they, the projects will have a clear intended um, end result. For example, if you have to implement um, SAP, let's say you have to implement SAP or any other ERP software in your project. So, sorry, in your organization, then there will be a definite objective of this project, and that will be the successful installation of this system. Um, but thereafter, once the installation gets completed, then it will be operations now. So thereafter, we may have different objectives for different periods, but till from start of the implementation of uh, that system till the end of the implementation of that system, this will be a project, and it will have a specific objective. Then the last difference will be that projects, they usually they are usually beyond the functional boundaries. Um, any function will be involved in the project depending upon the type of the project. People from different functions, they may be part of the project team. So the project will usually be free of functional boundaries, whereas the operations, they will always be within the boundaries of functions. Like if you talk about assembly process or assembly operation, uh, it will only be part of the production process, and you will not see anybody coming from a marketing department performing these tasks. So operations, they will always have boundaries, functional boundaries usually. So these are the differences between projects and operations. Now, why it is very important to differentiate between the two? Because if we are talking about project management, it's very important that we are able to differentiate between a project and operation, so that once it is identified that it is a project what we are talking about, then we will be using project management techniques that we are going to study today. So the very first step uh, of project management will be the identification of whether what we are going to do is a project or is it operation, because the management of operations will be totally different than the management of the of a project. So that's the very first thing that you should be aware of uh, before we can actually go for project management. So let's move forward. Well, what is project management? Well, let's go to the definition and then explanation. Integration of all aspects of a project, ensuring that proper knowledge and resources are available when and where needed, and above all, to ensure that the expected outcome is produced in a timely, cost-effective manner. The primary function of a project manager is to manage the trade-offs between performance, timeliness, and cost. Well, what project management is that when you have identified a project which you need to manage, then the project management in this regards will mean that that project is successfully completed, and the objectives of undertaking this project are met um, the way they were intended to be achieved. So that's the whole uh, concept of project management. It starts from it starts right from the planning phase till the completion phase. So this is what project management is. Now, what is triple constraint? We'll be discussing in a while. So let's first move towards the steps involved in project management. So there are 5 steps involved in project management: initiation, planning, execution, control, and completion. So there are 5 steps involved in project management. Now, the first step is initiation. The initiation stage is basically building a business case. When you want to undertake a project, not necessarily it will be accepted by the higher management straight away. So, like any project or like any other decision, uh, you need to have a business case to facilitate the management to take the decision regarding the fate of that particular project. So before the project planning starts, before the project management of the project actually starts, the first step will be to come up with a business case, present it to the management, so that it helps the management to decide whether the project should be undertaken or not. So this is the very first stage of project management. Now, what will a business case include? When you have to present a business case, what are the areas that one must cover? Now, before we discuss those areas of a business case, first let me tell you what the objective of business case will be. Definitely, the objective of the business case, presenting a business case, will be that the management accepts the project for which we are presenting a business case. So we have to be rational. We have to be logical. We have to be factual when we are coming up with a business case. So what are the areas that will be covered in a business case? The first area will be the analysis of current strategic position. Now, what is meant by current strategic position? We have already discussed the same when we started our course. in which we discuss the internal analysis and external analysis of the organization. So this particular area of a business case basically is about analyzing the current situation or current strategic situation or position of the company, and the best tool in this case will be SWOT analysis. The objective of this particular part of business case will be to come up with the current strengths of the organization, the current weaknesses of the organization, and also identifying the opportunities and threats that we foresee in the future, so that we can convince the management to undertake the project, so that the company can benefit from the project. And maybe that project is for converting the weaknesses of the organization into strengths, or maybe that we are looking for an opportunity, but which will not be availed unless and until a particular project is undertaken. So by presenting a SWOT analysis, we will be actually helping ourselves to propose the project worth taking for the management. So it's very important that we should look at the benefits that this project is going to provide to the organization, whether it's the conversion of the weaknesses into strengths, or it's the conversion of threats into opportunities. So this particular area will help us convince the management. And the second area will be defining the project constraints. Now, when we talk about project constraints, this is actually the triple constraint model. There are three basic constraints of every project: the scope, time, and cost. And when we talk about scope, it's actually the areas, the things covered in the project. And it's very important to define the limitation of the project. It should not be a long wish list. It should rather be a sum of a combination of very practical things that the project should be covering. So it's very important when we are coming up with coming up with a business case, we should define the scope of the project, that what is covered in that particular project. For example, let me give you an example, and let me give you a very basic example. Let's say a group of students in a college, or a council member of a college, they want to conduct an annual function. And this will definitely be a project for them, because this won't be something that will be regularly happening. So this is one time that they have got to arrange an annual function. So it will be a project. It will have a starting date. It will have an ending date. So when this team has to propose the idea of conducting this annual function to the management, their business case should include the scope of this annual function, that is, the things that this function is going to cover. For example, it might be this might include distributing high achievers awards. It may include tableaus, it may include parodies, etc., etc. A typical annual function will include. So they'll have to define the scope of this project, because if they are not able to define the scope of the project, they won't be able to convince the management to undertake this project, because the management will have no idea about how um, how much or what are the things that will be covered in this particular event. So unless and until they know what will be covered in this event, they won't be in a position to decide whether they should be going for it or not. The second limitation which the business case should include will be the time limit. This project should have a starting date and should have an ending date. So there will be a time boundary around this project, and the business case should include this time frame, as again it will be of useful information for the management to decide. And last but not the least will be the cost. The team has to put a limit to the costs involved. That is, they have to prepare a budget, and they have to come up with the limitation of the cost, that how much cost will be spent on this project. So these are the three limitations that a business case should include about any project before it could be presented to the management. Then the third area that a business case should include will be risk assessment. The things that might go wrong. There are three areas in the risk analysis phase, and I hope that Mr. Kashif Kamran um, has discussed these areas with you, or if not, this is in the syllabus, so he may be discussing these areas with you. So risk analysis, there are three areas of risk analysis. The first area of the risk analysis is identifying risks. So identification of risks, let's go back to the same example of that school function. What might be the risks involved, which the business case should highlight? The first risk may be that they may exceed the budget. Maybe the cost estimate that they are going to provide initially, maybe the actual figures may turn out to be higher than that. This is one of the risks that may be there. Similarly, the time frame, it may be the actual time and the budgeted time may be different. So this is another risk. So there may be other risks involved. So every project will have different types of risks. So it's important um, for a business case document to identify the risks that the project may carry. The reason why the risk identification is very important is that if we are presenting this business case to the management, and at the same time we are coming up with the risks, we have not only identified the risks, we have also assessed and we have come up with the solutions how to manage those risks. It will be a very strong business case, and there will be less chance for management to reject the project. So identifying risks, all types of risks, then assessing risks. And when we talk about assessing risk, we are actually talking about two things about the risk. One is the assessment of the impact of the risk on the organization. And usually when we talk about the impact, is the financial impact. That is by how much the profit or be hit by any uncertainty. And the likelihood of the occurrence of such events. For example, what will be the impact if the duration of this project that is conducting the annual function, what will be the impact of delay, the financial impact of the delay? So this will be the impact in financial terms. And what is the probability that the function will be delayed? So when we talk about assessing risk, we actually talk about identifying the impact of a particular incident and the likelihood, that is the probability of occurrence of such event. So once we are done with these two areas, then comes the management of the risks. Now let's look at this table, which tells us what to do in case the impact is high and the likelihood is also at a higher side. What does this mean? It means, for example, if anything that we don't want to happen happens, what will be the financial impact? In case if the financial impact is very significant that the company cannot afford, we can say it has a high impact. On the other side, if the probability, let's say the occurrence of event A, let's say the probability of the occurrence of event A is more than 90% and the impact is too significant that the company cannot afford, it means that it will fall into this area which has a high impact and a high likelihood. So in that case, it's better for the company to avoid going for this particular project. Don't take this risk in case these two areas are high. But in case the impact is low That is, even if that event occurs, and even that if it hits the company badly, the impact won't be that high. It won't be that significant. But the probability of the occurrence of this event is high, let's say more than 90%. Then what should the company be doing? Should it avoid? No, it should not avoid. It should go for it, but try to reduce it. Try to reduce it. For example, if you are riding a bicycle and you're riding in a ground, and it's a bumpy ground, uh, and the speed of the bicycle isn't that great, so even if you fall from that bike while riding, the loss that one might get won't be that much. It will be low. But because of a bumpy track, because of the uneven ground, the probability of falling from the bicycle is too high. So what should be done? Try to reduce it. Try to reduce the probability. You can't reduce the impact because it's already low. So what you can do is you just try to reduce the probability of occurrence. So you can go for wearing a helmet, a knee guard. That is implementing controls. So if you talk about in an organization context, try to implement controls so that the probability of occurrence is reduced. On the other side, if the impact is high, that is, if the event occurs, the loss will be significant. But the likelihood of the occurrence is very low. So what should be done in that case? It says it should transfer. When we say transfer, we mean that we have to go for insurance and try to transfer the risk to someone else. Definitely, it will be involving some cost, but this will make us transfer the risk to someone else while doing the same thing. So we'll still be going for the project, but because of going for insurance, we'll be able to transfer the risk to someone else. And in case the impact is insignificant and the likelihood of the occurrence of such event is also low, then simply accept it, do nothing, go for the project, and don't take any special actions to manage the risk. So this is how we assess the risk first from the impact and likelihood point of view, and then we decide about what to do with this risk depending upon its impact and likelihood. So the third area was the risk assessment, and now the fourth area of the business case will be to present the cost benefit analysis. And in this area, we have to come up with the costs involved in this project, and we have to compare it with the benefits that it may give to the organization. And by doing so, it will be too easy for the management to decide whether the company should go for this project or not. Now, when we talk about the benefits, these are the different types of benefits that a company may gain from a particular project. The first, just give me a couple of minutes. So the first type of benefit is the strategic benefit. Well, maybe we are going for a project that will give company a competitive advantage over competitors. For example, if we let's say if we are considering a project of introducing our products online and offering our products online, and for example, if none of our competitors they are offering these products, online. So in case if we undertake this project of introducing our products online, this will give the company a competitive advantage over its competitors. So this is called a strategic benefit. That is the benefit which will give a sustainable competitive advantage to organization over other organizations. Then a project may lead to productivity benefits. For example, if we go for automating our assembly process and we undertake a project of implementing an automated assembly process, that project may give company the benefits with regards to improving its efficiency, and it may produce the products in a lesser time than before, and it gives a cost benefit as well to the company. So this would be called productivity benefits. Then a project may give management benefits. What does it mean? It means that, for example, if we try to automate our HR process or HR function, and let's say if we develop a website, if we go for a project of developing a website on which the candidates will apply for jobs, and giving us relevant details about their job experience, their qualification, and other details, and then having this website or a software behind this website, which will do the shortlisting thing for the company, and it shortlists the most relevant candidates for a particular job, and maybe it will also send messages for conducting interviews, etc., etc. It may have different features. So if we go for such type of project, it will give management benefits, which will make management easier for the organization. This is what we call management benefits. Then it may lead to operational benefits or functional benefits. Operational benefits, like it, well, for example, if we are going for a project of let's say automating any of our process, like assembly process, or finishing process, or any other process, the benefits will be in the form of facilitating the operations. So we can say we are getting the operational benefits. Um, Similarly, the functional benefits, the intangible, this is nothing, the operational benefits isn't different from the other benefit that we've discussed. The intangible benefits that a project may lead will be the employee satisfaction, the employee motivation, customer satisfaction. For example, if we're going for a project of introducing a customer care center, or introducing anything that lifts the morale of the employee or customers, or it improves the customer satisfaction, then we'll say that it's giving us intangible benefits. And last but not least, the emergent benefits. The emergent benefits are basically those benefits that are unexpected. For example, we started a project with intended benefits. We thought about few benefits, and later on, when the project was completed, and when the project was implemented, later on we came to know about other benefits of at the same project, which we never thought about at the time of starting the project. So there are always hidden benefits in projects which unfold at some later stage of the project implementation. So these are the different types of benefits that a project may give to any organization. The scale of benefits. The scale of benefits, by the scale of benefits, we actually mean that to what extent those benefits will be quantifiable or observable. So few benefits will be, we can only be observed rather than measured or quantified. And when we say observable, these are the benefits that we see in the form of employee motivation, customer satisfaction. So these are benefits that these are the benefits that we cannot quantify or measure, but they may be there if a particular project is undertaken. So when we are coming up with a business case, we must find out the observable benefits as well. Though we may not be able to quantify those benefits, we may not be able to give financial value to those benefits, but that does not mean that we should exclude them from our cost benefit analysis whenever we are coming up with a business case. Even if in the exam in an exam question you see that a particular project is going to lead observable benefits which we cannot measure, do mention them. It will strengthen the business case, and it will help us to convince the management to approve this project. Then we may have uh, benefits which we can measure, but the only problem will be that we cannot measure the impact of the project on the company's performance at the time of undertaking the project. For example, we may be going for a project that will improve customer satisfaction, and as a result it may increase our sales. But the project, for example, the project is for implementing an online customer complaint cell. So if we implement an online customer complaint cell which will take the customer complaints 24/7 and will resolve them as early as possible, so you know that this will increase the company's sales as a result. But by how much it is going to increase the sales, it will be difficult to measure. But we may see the impact in the form of increased sales. For example, if the company sales, let's say the company sales are, let's say $2 million at the moment, and after the successful implementation of the project and the successful running of the system that we have installed, the sales have increased by, let's say, 25%. So we can measure it later on after 1 year or 2 years. But at the time of the initiation of the project, or at the time of coming up with the business case, we may not be able to quantify the benefits that we may get from implementing or going for this project. Then the third, but that does not mean, again, uh, we have to include these types of benefits into our business case. Not necessarily will be attaching figures for these benefits, but we must mention the benefits even if they cannot be measured, the impact could not be measured. Then we may have quantifiable benefits from any project. For example, if we are going to install a machinery into one of our processes, and the impact of this machinery will be that it will increase the capacity, production capacity, by, say, 10%. So we can easily quantify the impact of this project, and therefore we can include the impact of this project, the benefits of this project. We can include the benefits of these projects in a quantifiable way with numbers. And then the financial benefits, the benefits which will directly be converted into the financial figures, like profitability or improvement in cash flows, or the increase in revenue, the decrease in costs. So those benefits which we can express in financial terms will be called financial benefits. So the importance of dividing the benefits into these four categories will be that we'll keep an eye on all types of benefits, whether we just observe them or we can translate them into financial figures. We must include all types of benefits while presenting a business case. So we we have to prepare a document for every project called the project initiation document. Well, this is also called a project charter. And what is this document all about? It just complements the business case. It helps us to present the business case. We can uh, it helps us to present a business case in a better way. Um, The project initiation document gives authorization for work to be done and resources used. The project initiation document, once you present a business case to the management and it gets approved, then this document is now then prepared. And this document, what does this document include? It includes the project title, the project purpose and objectives, what this project is all about, what objectives it is intended to obtain, the starting date of the project, and when is it going to finish. Then there will be details regarding project sponsor and the project. I'll just discuss in a while what a project sponsor and what a project manager is and what their roles are. Authorization by the main stakeholders who have authorized this project, who were supposed to actually authorize this project, the names of those stakeholders and their signatures. Other elements of information may be included in outline, schedule of work, budget information, outline of project scope and work sequence, further details of roles and responsibilities. Now, you're not expected, it's least likely that examiner will be asking you to prepare this document, but we must know what this document is all about and what does it include. So let me show you people an example of a project initiation document. Just give